Hello guys and welcome back to another skill point guide video for Total War Warhammer 3. Today we'll be going over Thorgrim, Grudgebearer with the dwarves, and we're just going to kind of jump right in because he's a fairly straightforward lord. Being a melee lord, he doesn't have any rune magic for the dwarves. He's obviously not a spellcaster because he's a dwarven legendary lord, so we're just going to jump right on in. So first I do like to go down his blue line, grabbing the Miner's Instinct as well as the Purebred and then Iron Willed ability. Kind of straightforward. Iron Willed is just for the 30% casualty replenishment rate because he's going to be in melee pretty frequently. So that way if he ends up taking a lot of damage because he is on a pretty big mount, so he's going to get hit by a lot of entities. That way he's just able to regenerate over the turn. Purebred I like. I know as the dwarves you can get quite a few ancillaries decreasing the amount of corruption in a province. But just grabbing a little extra won't hurt because you're going to be basically facing corruption wherever you go. You go north, you're going to have vampiric corruption. You go east, you're going to have chaos corruption. South, you're going to have Skaven corruption and more chaos corruption and Khorne corruption, depending on how far south you go. In the west as well, more Skaven, more vampires with Sartosa and Ikitclaw. So really, just getting rid of the corruption basically over a few turns is kind of essential in order to help mitigate some of the public order problems that you'll be facing when having high corruption in your province. And then Miner's Instinct just helps when dealing with the greenskins mainly, as well as some beastmen with Malagor. That way, you know, they don't just underway jump away from you or underway jump, you know, if you're Skarsnik over here and Thorgrim's here, he underways jumps to the Pillars of Grugni, blows it up, and now you're playing whack-a-mole, you know, wasting a turn, reoccupying the Pillars of Grugni, that kind of thing. That way you're just hopefully able to catch them in that underweight stance or beast pass or whatever it may be, to prevent them from doing that kind of thing and wasting a few of your turns. Now after the blue line, a little bit here, I do like to go down his red line. Now with the red line you can do a lot of things with the dwarves. You can do Tactician, Fire and Fury, Grimnir's Heirs, and Thunderer. But first and foremost I just do Tactician and Thunderer because you're going to get your Grudge Throwers and your Quarrelers or Thunderer units rather early on compared to the Iron Drakes or the Iron Breakers. And so I just like to make sure that I'm boosting my army a little bit with these Tactician and Thunderer first. And then obviously the Dawi Firepower for your missile units, and then Morgrim's Favorite, and then Stand Your Ground, just to give Thorgrim himself and the other melee units around him more melee defense and leadership. You know, just as a passive or a augment ability occasionally there. Now we'll come back to it, but depending on the army that you want to build, I do like to grab Grimnir's Heirs and Fire and Fury because I do end up doing like Thorgrim, some Thanes, some Iron Drakes, some missile units, and then artillery. Occasionally some Iron Breakers as well. It just kind of just depends. But usually during the red line, it kind of leads us into the special skill line of Thorgrim because I do like to go down that line quite a bit. The Elite Enforcer is good. It increases your hero capacity for Thanes, as well as the recruit rank for all Thanes, all provinces, so that's not too bad. Fire support, increasing your hero capacity for engineers is pretty good, as well as the ammunition and missile strength for the artillery units in his army, so definitely like to grab that. And then the advanced forging, probably the weaker one out of the three, but the research rate is okay, but mainly it's the hero capacity for runesmiths that I do like to grab, even though you can increase them infinitely at tier 3. So you can't increase your capacity for runesmiths in any settlement, but just doing it early on can definitely make a big difference there. Now after that, I do like to get the Grudge Against the Foul because you're going to be up against the Greenskins and Skaven pretty much your entire campaign as Thorgrim, as well as even the Grudge Against Chaos. You're going to be going up against the Chaos Dwarves pretty frequently, Beastmen pretty frequently. And the rest of them I kind of just hold off on, really. They're not that big of a deal. But I do also like to grab some, in terms of like special skills, I still like to grab the passive ability of High King, because eventually you're either going to have some melee units, whether it be Hammerers, Dwarf Warriors, Longbeards, Thanes, you know, whatever you're using as kind of your hold the line infantry. Being able to provide a little more melee attack, armor piercing, base weapon damage will just be able to help them, you know, perform that task a little bit better. Now I do like to also go down his melee line because with dwarves, as you know, you can get some character runes, so you can get him a mortis engine, you can get him some melee attack, melee defense, all that kind of stuff. So I do like to make him a little tankier there. Ancestral Grudge, I'm not as worried about it because it's only when fighting Greenskin, so I'm not too hyped on that one. But I do like to grab Woundmaker, Blade Master, you know, Blade Shield, Relentless, and Deadly Onslaught as well. The charge bonus and Ancestral Grudge is just not that big of a deal in my opinion. Because it's more about him being a tank and holding back the enemy while the missile units do their damage. So the fact that, you know, he's got pretty good melee attack, but more importantly, high melee defense, high armor, high leadership, that's really what you're looking for in sort of a holding back the enemy sort of lord there. Now, we do have 10 points left, but the rest of his skills are kind of really up to you. But personally, I do like to do grab him some missile resistance just because he is kind of a bigger entity with his kind of his cart, like throne that he's being carried on. I do like to grab Mentor in order to get your experience with lords and also heroes in his army. And then I also actually like to grab Inspirational Leader because replenishment for the dwarves is not necessarily easy. And early on, when you have a lot of actual melee units, it can be pretty beneficial to get some extra replenishment there. Now, your last 3 points, I do like to do. I mean, it kind of depends what you want to do. The rest of the skills up here, I just don't favor that much. The lore, leadership, aura size, not that big of a deal. The leadership +9 for him wouldn't be terrible, but it's not. I mean, he's already got pretty high base leadership to begin with. The Lord of the Deeps, you're not going to be doing that many subterranean battles, underway fights. The leadership +6 when Skaven, not that big of a deal either. Just because your dwarf units already have super high leadership to begin with. And Skaven have really low leadership, so they're probably going to rout rather quickly compared to your units. Now, ambush defense chance, I do like to grab just because you're going up against Skaven. Inquiring Minds, I like to grab for that upkeep cost reduction and research rate. And then the last point, I just usually put into alert as well. Now, I do play with the 1-button respec mod, so it's kind of special for me because later in the campaign, if I want to reset some skills and get Fire and Fury or Grimnir's Heirs, I can. But since it's, you know, not everyone's going to play with that mod because whatever reason it may be, they just may not play with it. So because of that, assuming you don't have that, that's why I don't go with it. Just because the Iron Drakes and Flame Cannons and Iron Breakers do just fine with base stats alone. Obviously, a little bit of extra boost would help, but it's not going to make or break them or make them that much better as the Tactician and Thunderer will for the Grudge Throwers, Organ Guns, and Thunderers and Quarrelers. But that is how I level up Thorgrim. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, how you go leveling them up. There's loads and loads of different ways you can go about leveling up Thorgrim. It's really just, this one's really kind of hard to kind of pick and choose what's best technically because it just kind of depends on the situation and what you're going up against there. But don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. And until the next video or live stream, I hope you guys have a good one, and I will see you later on. Bye.